Hello, my friends, or whoever stumbled upon this video. I'm here to talk about my love of Kendrick Lamar, because I think he's awesome. And I'm not talking about his recent music, no Mustard, or A minor, or Drake. I'm talking about his older music. There's nothing I can say about his work that hasn't already been said or done to death, but it's not going to stop me from being a huge nerd about his amazing lyricism when it comes to religion and American identity. I'm going to be mentioning multiple songs from multiple albums, namely Section 80, To Pimp a Butterfly, and Damn, but mostly To Pimp a Butterfly because that's where a lot of the religious themes that I personally like how they're said comes up, if that makes sense. I just like his funny words. I like how he says things. And sometimes I wish I was just a bit older because when To Pimp a Butterfly came out, it was 2015, and I was the ripe age of 9 when that came out. An entire decade ago, by the way. So given that I was 9 years old, and most 9-year-olds do not have a developed understanding of the tumultuous relationship that African Americans have with America as a system, and religion, and how it relates to African American identity, my appreciation for Kendrick's music mostly sprung up when I was pre-teenage. And I was actually able to kind of comprehend what he was saying in most of his songs. A fair few disclaimers. If you're a Kendrick Lamar fan, you will already know this, but discussions of slavery, religion, systematic oppression, most topics that would make a white woman clutch her pearls and a white man wave a flag in my face and tell me I should appreciate this country. And I do. I love this country. But I can also point out to its flaws and live vicariously through Kendrick Lamar's lyrics to portray my feelings of these issues. Also, I get the N-word pass because I'm said N-word. I'm black. I don't know why, but when I go online and people hear my voice, they assume I'm not black, and I've been told that I don't sound black, which is insane. It's a crazy thing that's still being said to black people, but whatever, that racism aside. One of the many things that I love about Kendrick's artistry are his lyrics and wordplay that tie together religion, wealth, African American identity into a mix of themes that can't be discussed independently of each other because they're so intertwined within history that it's impossible to separate them. I am an atheist, but I'm not like a Redditor atheist. I'm not like, oh, religion fucking sucks. I think religion is awesome, and I think religion is really cool, and I respect people who have faith. So I'm not going to give an overall label to the relationship of Christianity and the African American community as good or bad. It's a very tumultuous relationship that ties back a very, very long time, back to slavery. Christianity was introduced to enslaved African Americans, enslaved Africans, and it is now very much intertwined into our culture. It's a huge part of African American identity and culture, just as many other religions are important to their respective cultures. So there is no denying that Christianity as a religion is very important to Black people and the African American identity. I'm going to reference Section 80 first, just because it's the shortest section that I have that I want to dissect here, and it's also the earliest of the 3 albums that I want to mention. Fair warning that I haven't personally read the Bible, and Christianity as a religion, as of now, isn't very close to me. When I was very young, I would go to church, and I still occasionally do go to church with college friends. My grandparents are very religious. My immediate family isn't, so my mom and dad aren't very religious. I'm pretty sure having some knowledge of the Bible and reading it would give me an enhanced experience of what Kendrick Lamar writes, but I don't think it's needed to understand the points that he's making. So, not a Bible head over here. So, getting to actually talking about the music, one of my favorite tracks from Section 80 is Kush and Corinthians. Religious references are present throughout this entire album, but this is one of my personal favorite songs and also has some of my favorite lyrics from any Kendrick song. The scene that's laid out for us is Kendrick Lamar smoking a blunt and reading the Bible. He not only seeks to escape the world that he's living in, escape the demons that plagues his mind, but he's also looking for answers. He wants to better understand the world around him, and he's looking to God's word to understand better. And you can tell that in the song it's very hard for him. He questions why humans retaliate against God and sin. Kendrick himself wonders about his own morality and spirituality, if he actually has faith or if he's using religion as a guise to do whatever he wants with his fame and power. He even wonders that when he dies, if God will judge him, if he'll be seen as virtuous or wicked, good or a bad person because of the actions that he committed in his life. And I feel like the themes of this song overall are tied up together pretty well in the chorus. Kendrick sings about how fleeting life is and how you can really die at any moment, so it's better to make the most of what you can do, but also come to realize that vice and sin do exist in the world, and that living differently should be the ultimate goal of each individual person.
It go ride to it, cause you never know when a bullet might hit and you die to it, die to it, die to it, die to it. Live your life, live it right, be different, do different things, don't do it like he did, cause he ain't what you is, but we can.
Every nigga is a star. 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 Who am I that you admire?
Wesley's Theory is the first track on To Pimp a Butterfly. This song itself doesn't have any ties to religion by itself, but it does relate to religion in the context of the rest of the album. This song is more so about Kendrick's wealth and his money and his power and how America has basically failed African Americans through the systemic racism that is still impacting African Americans today. And not just African Americans, also lower class people or people of color. The first verse is basically a brag sesh. It's about Kendrick's advancements in his rap career and what he's going to do with his money. Like a new car, going to the club, buying guns and giving them out in his neighborhood, getting everything in platinum and putting platinum on things. All things that are very frivolous and materialistic, things that you don't exactly need once you have the money that you want. He even alludes to the poor education system that is present in a lot of black communities and lower income communities, saying that he's uneducated but he has $1 million check, which references the fact that a lot of children and a lot of teenagers are not taught about finances in school. He's doing all this stuff with his money unknowing of how to finance himself and how to handle it, so he just spends it frivolously. And the next few lines, "we should never gave niggas money," can be interpreted in a few different ways. I personally interpret it in a few ways. One way I see it is that it's the government talking about African Americans being free and having the will to use their money. It rings true historically that the American government didn't exactly want African Americans to have money, especially since slavery was a very profitable institution. Another interpretation of these lines that I have is someone quite literally saying this nigga shouldn't have money because he's spending it so frivolously and on things that are useless. He should not have the money to spend, which is pretty funny. I kind of see it as a joke on the previous verse. The last way that I personally interpret these lines is that it's a commentary on the systemic racism and systemic oppression that people of color still face when it comes to not being able to finance their own money or not having the education to finance themselves, and spending a bunch of money on things that ultimately benefits the government but doesn't benefit the person in the long run. Which is also the topic of the next verse I'm going to talk about. In this verse, Uncle Sam, the very popular personification of America and the American government, is speaking directly to Kendrick, asking him what he would like to buy with his money. And very cleverly, 40 acres and a mule is referenced here. 40 acres and a mule was promised to freed African American slaves after the Civil War, but that promise was not fulfilled by the government. So it's very ironic that Uncle Sam himself is asking Kendrick, someone who is of African American descent, if he wants his 40 acres and a mule. It's almost like taunting. The American credit system is also referenced here, saying that Kendrick can pay him later and that he should still buy what he wants to get, even though that will ultimately work in Uncle Sam's favor and end up causing Kendrick financial issues in his future. Uncle Sam continues to beckon Kendrick Lamar further, telling him to buy things and saying that hitting the register will make him feel better, as in Uncle Sam and not Kendrick. And then there's a callback to the fact that Kendrick himself is not educated on economics with the line, "You ain't passed economics in school," and taxes will deny all the things that he's buying, even though Uncle Sam is telling him to buy these things because he has the money. The line at the very end, "I'll Wesley snipe your ass before 35, is a clever reference to Wesley Snipes, a very famous African-American actor who was also convicted for tax evasion. So the government is quite literally saying that Kendrick will end up like Wesley Snipes, as in legal trouble and financial ruin because he doesn't know how to finance himself, which is also the failure of the US system. The before 35 part of the line is also interesting because 35 just so happens to be the minimum age requirement for becoming president of the United States. So it's almost implicitly saying, hey, I'll ruin you before you can rise to power as a black man, because I can and because it hurts me if you can do that. I'm not going to talk about You just because it doesn't pertain to the themes that I'm discussing, but it is worth noting that Alright comes right after You as a song, which is a great change in tone because You is basically a mental breakdown on Kendrick's part, talking to himself about how much he hates himself and contemplating suicide, while Alright is a song that's a bit more uplifting and him saying that he'll be okay despite all the trials and tribulations that he is going through. Especially if God is looking out for him and he has faith. It's also cool that You as a song is very depressing, and on this album the song I is one of the happiest songs on the album. It's very uplifting. Tangent aside, Alright links directly to Wesley's theory through the phrases used being reused in this song. Now if you're an astute observer or you just know the songs by Kendrick Lamar, you'll notice that this verse in Alright is almost identical to the verse used in Wesley's theory, and that's on purpose. You can see here that the verse takes a different turn on the previous iteration of it. Instead of Uncle Sam, the narrator is now Lucy, the personification of Lucifer, you know, the devil from the Bible. Instead of telling Kendrick to buy the things he wants to buy because it benefits America as a system to his expense, Lucy tells him to spend his money in immoral or sinful or illegal ways. And Kendrick is very much tempted to do so and does do so in the middle of this verse. But then you can see that towards the middle, he realizes his own greed and that Lucy doesn't have the best intentions for him. And by the end of the verse, he declares that he'll write till he's right with God. This can mean that he'll keep rapping or keep writing his poems in raps in assurance to God, or in search of penitence, in search of God's judgment. And it can also mean that he'll keep writing and rapping until the day he's dead, until he's literally right next to God. The next song on the album is For Sale, and it's personally one of my favorites, next to Momma. Momma is my favorite song on the album. The overall tone of the song is very sinister, but also playful and high and psychedelic. It starts off with a voice asking a heavily breathing Kendrick what's wrong, and that he was keeping it gangsta. This can refer to the violence and drug dealing that he's taken part in. The voice asking what's wrong, like, I thought you were keeping it gangsta, as in this is what you wanted, this is what you wanted to take part in? Why are you so rattled by what's happening? And then there's reassurance and then a warning. If you're scared, go to church. As in, if you're scared of your soul not having salvation or scared of what your actions say about you, if you're sinful, you should go seek God and have faith. But then at the end, the very sinister message, but he knows the Bible too, references how Lucifer is in the Bible and he knows its teachings and he knows how to bend those teachings to his own will. Basically saying that even if Kendrick goes to seek salvation, Lucifer will eventually find his way into his life and tempt him into sinning. A lot of the song is spoken by Lucy, this personification of Lucifer, saying that he will get Kendrick. It's not really a question of whether or not he can, he's saying that he will. Lucy tempts Kendrick with all of these promises of things that they're going to do. Move his mom out of Compton, get a gigantic mansion for her, make sure he has money. Even says that he's watched Kendrick all of his life, and now that he's grown up, he's ready to sign a contract with him, which also references Kendrick getting signed and having an abundance of wealth and money due to his rap career. Momma, which is my favorite track on this album, is appropriately named after Africa, or Mother Africa, the cradle of humankind, where all human life as we know it has extended from. After his encounter with Lucifer and defeating said encounter, persevering through the temptation of sin, Kendrick appears to be enlightened and emboldened. He goes on a prideful rant about how he knows everything, all of his life experiences culminating into one big verse where he's proudly proclaiming that he knows everything. He knows about the universe, he knows about morality, he knows about Compton, history, he knows about respect and loyalty. He knows that if he's good in the eyes of God, then God will reward him accordingly. But then at the very end of this verse, he stops in his tracks and says that he actually doesn't know anything, and that all came to his attention when he came home, which I interpreted as him going on a visit to Africa, which he did actually do. While in Africa, he meets a young boy who reminds him a lot of himself. And the boy also sees Kendrick and sees Kendrick as a reflection of him as well. He recognizes Kendrick and his life and the turmoil and upset that he's been through, and urges Kendrick to also have his friends and family who live in Compton or from the US to visit Africa or come back home. The Back to Africa movement or idea was popularized by Marcus Garvey, which basically says that African Americans or Black citizens of America should return to Africa. While this line from the little boy does touch upon this idea of returning to Africa, I think it more so encourages Kendrick to want his loved ones to seek enlightenment or to seek the experiences that he has had in the world, as in finding the path of God or returning to one's homeland and feeling connected instead of just straight up going back to Africa. That's at least how I interpret it. Despite connection to African roots and despite the fact that many African Americans do remain connected to their African roots and want to be connected to them, being African American is a completely separate identity than being African. And the outro is my personal favorite part of the song and what makes the song my favorite on the album. It's about Kendrick looking for something, and the way I interpreted it, in order to tie it back to my religious themes, I thought it was God. It's him searching for God. And he's very confused as to where he can find this solace or where he can find God himself. Is it within the humans, humankind, the humans in which he made in his image? Is it in money that he spends? Is it in a woman? He doesn't exactly know where he can find this enlightenment or this peace. I see this as sort of a manic rant, and if you listen to the actual song, it is quite fast and panicked, and Kendrick raps very quickly. He even contemplates if this feeling is even real or if only wealthy people get to experience it because of the money. And going on my view, he's saying that even if God does exist, maybe he doesn't need God. And the end of the song I also interpret in two ways. I interpret it one way is Kendrick talking to the youth of Africa or young African Americans, saying that he can preach for them and obviously preaching ties back into religion. But I also interpret these last lines as to him talking to God, saying, hey, tell me all these issues, tell me what you want me to say, and I'll do it for you. I have the power and I have the influence to do so. So no matter who he's talking to, he's urging them to tell him, even if he's suicidal, it won't matter because he'll be voicing all their issues for them.
This is a world premiere.
I've been looking for you my whole life, and every time for the feeling I can barely describe. What you reside? Is it in a woman? Is it in money or man? Tell me something, got me losing my mind. You make me wanna jump. Let's talk about jump. Let's talk about jump. Let's talk about jump. Let's talk about. I've been looking for you my whole life, and every time for the feeling I can barely describe. What you reside? Is it in a woman? Is it in money or man? Tell me something, they can losing my mind. I say where you at, from the front to the back. I'm looking for you, I react only when you react. I thought I found you back in the ghetto when I was 17 with the 30th best show. Maybe you in a dollar bill, maybe you're not real, maybe only the wealthy get to know how you feel. Maybe you're paranoid, maybe I don't need you anyway. Don't lie to me, I'm suicidal anything. I can be your advocate, I can preach for you if you tell me what the matter is. Wicked or weakness, you gotta see this. Yeah.
While Damn isn't among my favorite albums of Kendrick Lamar, you know what? Hold on. Let me make a ranking real quick. Okay, hold on. Sidetrack. Cut the damn music. Cut the damn. Cut it. Hold on. All right. Everyone needs to know my opinions right now. Get Kendrick out of here. Get Kenny out. Get K-Dot out. It feels like he's judging me. Get it out. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay, from favorite to least favorite, just going off the top of my head, none of his mixtapes. Section 80 to T-Pab, To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City, Mr. Morale, Untitled, Unmastered, Damn, and then GNX. Not to say that Damn or GNX are bad albums, they're just not my favorite of his discography. Okay, ranking out of the way, I'm actually going to talk about the music then. Okay. While Damn does have a lot of religious themes, even some of the songs being named after the seven deadly sins and all the themes of wickedness and righteousness being hidden within its story, I always found X-Rated to be one of my favorite songs on the album, and it's going to be one of two songs from Damn I'll be talking about. The intro ties back into the unfair and unequal treatment of American citizens, saying that God blesses those who America is good to, namely white males who own land and have a lot of money. The "Can you help me understand" being cut off by the intro and instrumental also shows that these problems that people of color and, in the case of Damn, Black Americans face are being promptly ignored by the American government. Kendrick also again references the education system and how it fails many African American youths through this child, Johnny, not wanting to go to school, saying that books aren't cool anymore, wanting to be a rapper, and then eventually when he's out hustling for money, he kills somebody. That one's just a quick aside. I just thought it was cool to tie back those themes that I mentioned in To Pimp a Butterfly to Damn as well. Kendrick gets a call from his very distressed friend telling him that his son is dead. The interpretation of what his son was killed over is totally up in the air. A lot of people say it's due to a bad drug deal. Other people say the man couldn't get money to bail his son out of jail and he was put on death row and killed, but either way, his son is dead and he's calling Kendrick for comfort. While he's crying and distressed, he asks Kendrick if he could pray for him and if he could somehow give him any holy advice or anything that can connect this to God or to some bigger cosmic reasoning as to why the Lord would let his son die. And instead of giving his friend that comfort, Kendrick then says that his friend should kill whoever caused this. Kendrick says he would kill in this situation, no matter the family member and no matter who it was that caused their deaths. He says that there's no black power when your baby is killed by a coward, or to that extent, any one of your family members. It doesn't matter your creed, it doesn't matter who you are. If you cause any harm to Kendrick's family, he will resort to violence because of that. He even says that he'll go to a place of worship, he'll catch somebody who caused his family harm after church and kill them. and then go to court and proudly declare and admit that he killed this person. That's how loyal he is to his family. His loyalty overrides his faith. It overrides his need to be righteous. He will sin if somebody harms someone who's close to him. The second half of the song changes tone completely. This next verse starts off with a prayer. Kendrick turns to religion in order to plead for something to happen about the violence and bloodshed and interference in the world that America seems to have without worrying about its own people. He goes into a plethora of issues, all of which are their own separate topics. He talks about politics and who's in office, and higher ups are bosses and higher powers who don't care about their subordinates. How the news portrays Black Americans as especially dangerous, even though America created the system that perpetuates violence in Black communities. God is the last song I'll be talking about, and it'll probably be the shortest section just because I wanted to talk about like 2 lines, but that's fine, it's my video. Who could have guessed that the song named God would have religious stuff in it? Oh my goodness. Oh my god, I had no clue. But in this song, Kendrick is basically bragging, not really bragging, but saying how he feels like he's on top of the world because of his success, aka like he's God, or this is what God feels like. And I do think it's noteworthy that Kendrick feels like God over something very earthly, such as having money and success and wealth. Those are all very human virtues, all things that a god wouldn't really need, and yet these things make him feel so powerful that he likens himself to God. He also makes a very cool and very subtle reference to the Hebrew book of Exodus. The line "slide on you like fallen drapes" references the veil of the temple. This veil is meant to divide the Holy of Holies from the rest of humankind, which is essentially like a veil that divides the place of God from the place of mortal humans. Only the high priest of the temple could enter this veil on Yom Kippur. And eventually, when Jesus died on the cross, this veil was torn completely. This veil is also thought to be very thick, so the fact that Kendrick can easily have the drapes slide down on him, and the fact that he can pass through them in the first place, just shows how high his ego is. Also, killing them with kindness is a lesson that is also repeated in the Bible, and also completely juxtaposes the song I just talked about, where he talked about resorting to violence when people threaten his family. Here, he references being kind to everyone, even his enemies, no matter what, because that will ultimately be their downfall, him being kind to them as him being their enemy.
Did you like it? Did you like my video? Did you like listening to me talk about Kendrick Lamar? Yes?
Yes, you do? I nod. In all seriousness, it was very fun making this video. I just love talking about stuff that I like, as most people who like things do. And I commend you for watching this entire video. It's almost 30 minutes of me just talking in circles to myself about something I like. So thank you, I appreciate it. My thumb is up. You can't see it, but I have a big thumbs up. Like, comment, and survive, I suppose. I don't know. Mostly my friends are gonna see this, but if anyone else ends up seeing this, thank you for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed. Okay, have a good day. I don't know how people do outros. Bye bye!